There we are. Good morning, everyone. Uh, this is Kathy Delamia with Quality Coach Kathy, and I'm here with my co-host, Wendy L. Fisher, and our beloved participants, Vicki and Kay. We're at group coaching and Mastermind. We do this every Friday from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Mountain Central Time, so wherever you may be, might be a bit different. Today we're going to be working through a tapping into wealth process that's in Margaret Lynch's book. It is about receiving and being a good receiver, if you can make it a good receiving, because receptivity is a natural thing. We're going to see if we can release resistance to what's already a natural experience in ourselves. But before we dive into that, let's get to know everyone on the call a little bit. I'll start a bit with my background in childcare, as well as care provider of people with disabilities, and I've really had a journey of self-development. Everything that I've learned has been a contribution to my greater good, and I really believe that. And now I'm moving into this mindset and transformation coaching with the location independence, utilizing and leveraging the technology of the modern age. I can't love it anymore because it gets me in touch with people from all over who really are of like mind. I heard Warren Buffett at one point say, "This technology is so fantastic, you can play bridge with people who want to play bridge. You don't have to join a country club and try to figure out who wants to play bridge out of all the options. You can just get to it." So here we are, really getting to the tapping into wealth power. And I want to kind of bring home that when we do this work, there's huge value. And Vicki was saying before we started recording, like the huge value that can come, and we see that, and that's what we really want. But in the shadow is the cost of not doing it. And we're all tapping into wealth coaches, so we're sold on the value. We're going for the value. And for some people, what it takes is a little light shine on the cost of not doing it. And I think we'll probably get into it with the receiving, because what does it cost to not receive your joy, to not receive money, to not receive compliments and goodness in your life, right? So the inner work really is so powerful because it gives you that movement forward into the power and the benefit, gets you going in the direction that you want to go. So that's my little framing out of the group coaching this morning. I just adore you ladies. I'm so excited to hear what Wendy's brought as a scripted process for us. And you want to take it away, Wendy? Introduce yourself, give us an idea of your specialty.
Thank you. So my game of choice to put out there and play would be backgammon. Love it. And I have a similar background to you, Kathy. I spent 12 years as a paraprofessional in the local public school. So I worked with 8th graders for a few years, and then I was elementary level. So kindergarten through first, a little bit of 2nd grade, 3rd grade. So yeah, so working with children is an amazingly learning experience in itself. You know, just to be with them. So I studied psychology at university, and I did not want to go on and get my master's and just go into that. I was done with college. And so then when I, after our 3 kids got into school, I went into doing the paraprofessional work. And yeah, it's amazing how it all fits in together later in life, right? We think things are really disjointed and it all fits together. There's a plan for each of us. And so I'm really excited to be here and sharing this part of my plan with you all. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Wendy. All right, who wants to pop up and share yourself a bit? Okay.
I'll go.
Yeah.
Okay, do you want to go next?
Go ahead, Vicki.
My name is Vicki, and my husband and I have a business called Victorious Marriages, and we offer perspective, inspiration, and support for couples dealing with the effects of past sexual abuse. And so, if husbands and wives are feeling frustrated and confused and isolated, we help them gain clarity and understanding and reconnect and bond with each other. So it is amazing. We are building the whole infrastructure right now. And we're going to have a lot of modules that they can get from the privacy of their own home, as little as $37. And everything is through the lens of a sexual abuse survivor, anchored by her supportive husband. And there's tons of marital advice out there, tons of it, but nobody that we found addresses the nuances of sexual abuse and how it affects your marriage every single day. And so we offer support for wives, we offer support for husbands, and as a couple. So we're really excited about that. And everything in my past is like prepared me for this. I was volunteer extraordinaire in all of my kids' school, every different level. And I could make $60,000 in a night to raise money for the library, but I couldn't make $100 on a book that I wrote and published myself. So went through Margaret Lynch's program and, cleared a ton of money blocks and, working on having a business and enjoying that. So I'm looking forward to the receiving aspect today.
Whoa, beautiful. That's
Thank
fantastic.
you.
All right, Kay.
Hey, so I'm Kay Walker. I'm with Shifting into Balance. And even though I've been in business a long time and been coaching here and there, I am stepping out now and saying hi to the world and come work with me. And I have been coaching, I've been generally coaching coaches, and I love that. And I'm going into a little bit narrower field of still coaching coaches in a general way and people, but I'm going more into working through chakras and what those focuses are and what those particular shadows are so that we can integrate. And that's my new big passion, love. So that's what I'm doing.
Yes.
As one of your coaches, I have to say that it's amazing that you are fabulous at it. And
Thank
I
you.
emulate you.
Yes, I've had your coaching as well, Kay, and the tools that you use of yourself, your voice, your mind, your listening, your heart, those are tools that they don't just pop onto the scene, right? Those are practiced. Those are nurtured and refined, and it makes a big difference to have a coach. Kind of looping back to what I said before, the cost of not having a coach is repeated patterns over years of our life.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've made huge, like Vicki, clearing those money blocks. Because I know it's not, money touches every aspect of our life. And yes, we want to make money. But I always say it's the metaphor and the measure. We need a measure so we can kind of feel and celebrate our progress. But the metaphor it's the power, it's the freedom, it's the self-love that clearing those blocks just really makes the biggest difference.
Yeah, it does. It does. And in doing this, I've loved what I've done and bring to people. And now I'm going out and I always knew that I wanted and needed more coaching. I was a do-it-yourselfer. And so I went through all of this. And now I'm serious about community and about coaches. And I have a coach and clearing the blocks. And as I told you the other day, I showed up to a Toastmasters meeting as Toastmaster. This stuff is incredible. It just changes my universe. And I am so excited to keep sharing all these new things and receiving from you and giving and having you receive. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you've really touched on what I'm going to get into today. You know, you just said that, you know, you really didn't have any help. You were just alone in what you were doing. And today I'm just going to talk about becoming a great receiver, because yeah, this is a block that a lot of us have, that we won't receive. We can work so hard and work and work and work and work, right? And yet the receiving part, I've never quite understood until I started doing this work. So I just want to ask you a question, you ladies here, and anybody who's listening. I want you to encourage you to jump in and do the work with us, even though you're listening maybe in another time and space. And see what comes up for you, and just do this process, and you will see, I guarantee you will see results if you put in the work. So my question for everybody today is, do you tend to do everything for yourself? Does it matter to you that you're not dependent on other people? Right? So I can do this. I'm smart. I'm able. I can do this myself. I don't need other people to do that. And so there's an upside to this, and there's downsides to this. And it comes from a place in the past when we've decided, for a very good reason, usually, not to depend on other people. And it can be a very common thing to take a vow to not be vulnerable, to not depend on other people, to not be needy. And if we take this vow as a young child, it gets reinforced as we grow older and as we get into adulthood. It gets reinforced a lot. And so it can be it can seem like a very, very smart thing in our lives to not be needy, to not depend on other people, to take care of ourselves. And yet there is a big downside to it. So before we get there, I want to read some statements to you, and I just want you to internally assess, does this apply to you? Is this something I say in my mind or to other people? So have you made a vow or a decision to never be vulnerable? Okay. So, or have you made a decision to never have needs that you can't take care of yourself? I'm not going to have a need if somebody else has to take care of that for me. Is that a decision you've made? Have you taken a vow or made a decision to never ask for what you'd really like? Or to never rely on somebody else? Okay. Or have you made a decision to never let yourself really feel your deepest needs? You could be thinking, yes, I have made these decisions and it makes total sense. It works for me, because it has, right? Because there's a reason why it's worked for you. Well, so one thing that being dependent on somebody else means is that we become vulnerable, right? We have to rely on somebody else, and maybe we feel vulnerable. Maybe I don't want to feel vulnerable. I don't want to feel like somebody else has a bit of control over me or my destiny or this thing that I'm doing, right? And it can leave us open to being disappointed. Okay, we've been disappointed in the past. I don't want to feel that again. I don't like how that feels. I don't like being vulnerable and disappointed. And it can also relate to the neediness, maybe being a victim, being victimized, like you were saying, Vicki, before with the sexual abuse. I don't want to feel like or be a victim, right? So this gets really deep really fast. And I know I've taken you down from this. Hi, this is who we are, what we're doing, and it's wonderful too. This is what really is going on inside of us sometimes. We don't want to nag other people. We don't want to be needy. We don't have to nag them. Remind them, this is what you said you would do, whatever. And so this vow can be seen as really smart. I'm not going to need other people. I'm not going to depend on other people. I'm going to take care of myself. And taking care of ourselves is a good thing, right? It's always good to take care of ourselves. And as women here, I'm sure we all have this desire and this wanting to take care of other people. But can I let somebody else take care of me? Right? So while this seems really practical, there's a huge downside to it. Okay, and it can be personal needs, and it could be money. It can be just our lives, our career. When we don't need anything from anybody else or the world, right? We put up a block. I don't need you. I don't need what you have, and I'm blocking, right? And it blocks us from receiving, right? I don't need you, but I also can't receive what you have for me. So it's impossible to really receive when we're in this state, when we've decided and we have these vows that we've taken when we're really young, and they get settled into our nervous system, right? We're talking mind body here. So our nervous system, our body holds this. And it's subconscious, right? Some of it may be conscious, but there's a lot going on in the subconscious. So when it comes to setting a big wealth picture, there's two sides to the equation. First, there's the working. I can work hard, I can keep working, I can keep trying things. I am an excellent worker. I'm a worker bee. I can do this, right? But most people aren't good at the second part, and that's the receiving part. And if we're not good at receiving, we're usually very, very comfortable with the working and the doing part, right? That's comfortable. I can do. We really have to clear these blocks and be willing to receive, because guess what? I work. I do want to get paid. I do want to be recognized. I do want these good things to come to me, but I block, right? So there's a real problem here, right? And I guess I never saw it in that light. I saw the personal, I don't want to be vulnerable. I don't want to be needy. I don't want to depend on anybody else. But there's a balance that we can find here, right? We can keep ourselves safe, and we can receive, and we can give and work hard. There's all these can be together and positive in our lives. This vow conflicts with our ability to receive. And so when we're working really hard, we may say we're not doing it for the credit, so I don't need compliments, right? But in essence, we're doing it for the accomplishment itself and not the rewards. And so that really is me. Like, okay, I finished 4 years of college. I got my bachelor's degree. I did this. I did that. I have these accomplishments, but I have not let the rewards come in. Okay, I have had a hard time receiving money for what I do. I've had a hard time receiving compliments. I remember a story when I was, my mother just really made it poignant how important it is to receive. I was in college and I went on the exchange program from one side of the country to the other. And my younger brother was like, he's 4 years younger than me, and he wanted to give me $10. He'd been working part-time at this little restaurant, and he knew I was going, this is this big journey, and I was going away, and he just wanted to give me $10. And I said, no, you work so hard for that. I can't take your money. I know you love me, and blah, 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 whatever. I was getting ready to get on the bus, and he went over to the car and burst into tears. He wanted to give that to me, and I could not receive it. And the conversation I had with my mother after was very, very telling, and I didn't know what to do with it, but I knew that I needed to become a receiver. That receiving from my brother honored him, and it would have made him so happy. Okay, so that's just a little example of how important it is to be a great receiver. So, deep breath. Having a support system allows us to go out and reach our goals, right? It doesn't mean we have to give up all of our control, but when we can receive support, receive collaboration, it allows us to get much bigger. It allows us to be more of ourselves in the world, right? And to give the gifts that we have. And it happens faster. If we're trying to grow a business and we can receive help, our business has got to grow faster because it's just how it works, right? So how do you know if this vow is played out in your life? I'm going to do a little exercise with you. So I want you to take a deep breath, get comfortable in your chair, close your eyes if you're comfortable with that. Yeah, another deep breath. I want you to feel the support that you have. The floor is supporting your feet or a stool. My feet are on a stool. The chair, feel the support of your chair, of your spine. Just feel into your body and feel the support that you have. And I want you to use your imagination. I want you to either paint a picture in your mind or play a movie. And I want you to see this going on in you. And I want you to think back to when you were a child. And I want you to think about how well your parents were at meeting your emotional needs. Okay, were they attentive and loving and affectionate with you? Did they allow you to need them? Were they emotionally absent or critical? And just picture yourself as this young child. And I want you to imagine asking your parents for attention, for a hug, for something you need. Just let that play out in your imagination, in your mind, and what happens. Are your parents willing and able to meet your needs? And if not, how did you react? Can you see if or where you took a vow to not ask anymore? Made a decision, I'm just not going to ask them anymore? And maybe even you made a decision to never even feel that impulse anymore. Maybe you decided you don't even have that need anymore. And just let any thoughts come up, let any memories come up, even if it's really painful. Let yourself experience that now, as an adult, as the you are. And remember, the more we remember, the more we can clear. Right? So if there's any certain words or feelings, let yourself experience that. Often, this is where the vow to never ask for your true needs to be met begins. This is where it begins, where we may stop asking for our needs to be met, or we may decide we don't even have those needs anymore. Were you comfortable reaching out to get or give love, affection, nurturing? Or did you suppress those needs because you learned early on that they weren't going to get met? because they weren't able or willing. This is not a place of judgment, but it's just seeing what happened inside of you. And for me, and I think for other people, there's just this memory of it being fruitless to ask. And so I know I decided, and other people have decided, to never want anything from their parents. And in effect, dismiss them as caregivers. I'm going to take care of myself as much as I can. I'm going to go it alone because my parents aren't able or willing in this moment to give me what I need. I asked, and it didn't happen. Take a deep breath. Whatever you're thinking, whatever you're seeing, whatever you're feeling, just take a deep breath. And let it come up. Did you really shut down the very impulse of wanting and needing? In effect, we can short circuit our feeling, our real needs and our feelings, and learn to run them through our thought process, right? We can think about what's appropriate, what is likely to be met, what in me is too needy, and we can make decisions about our needs and our desires, our real deep desires, our true self that's in there, that little girl or that little boy who's just in touch, right? And so when we run it through our decision making, anything that doesn't fit what we've decided is appropriate can get pushed aside. And so in order to protect ourselves from disappointment or pain, any further of that, we take this vow to be strong, to be safe, and to say no from needing anything from other people. So asking for help can be perceived as weak, whereas working hard and soldiering through means I'm strong, right? As a man, as a boy, you can be said to, you need to be self-sufficient. Just be a man. Just man up and do it. Whatever those words were that came at that time. Women are often taught to please others, right? It's better to give than receive. And these things indirectly will instill this vow in us. Even if we didn't consciously take a vow or make a decision, as we grow older, and even if we did, these things can reinforce it. But no matter what the reasons are for taking a vow, not to depend on anyone, and not to receive all the rewards in life that we want and we deserve, including wealth, including love, including being recognized. It can be in there and it can be deep and it can just block us. So this exercise has caused you to think about memories, words, things that have happened in your past, and how you may have blocked your deepest needs from being met. And oftentimes, clients will say the word depression comes up. And there can be like a clinical depression kind of thing going on. However, just practically, if we depress our needs and our feelings. Maybe it's anger, sadness, or our passion, our enthusiasm, right? We can depress those. And, honestly, are you in touch with your deepest needs and feelings? We don't depress the acceptable ones. We're going back to the part where we run things through our thought processes. We don't depress the ones that are acceptable, right? The learning and achieving. We don't depress those. Those are all acceptable to us and to everyone around us usually. But it's the ones we judge as the most selfish or unacceptable, embarrassing. Those are the things that lead to vulnerability, right? Those are the things that get repressed. And to free them, we have to see them so that we can clear them and then be able to receive. Take a really deep breath, ladies. That was a lot. Just if anybody wants to share anything, that's great. Now's a good time, but I can also just continue going. It's we're going to get to some tapping in a moment. Anybody have anything come up they'd like to share? Yeah, Kathy.
Yeah, when you were speaking about the pleasing aspect and that filter of what's okay and what's not okay, and just avoiding vulnerability, it's so powerful. I saw what would happen when I was a kid. There was multiple times that I was left at school waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, and I now know my mom was working and it was really hard for her, and she was doing the best she could, right? Adult mind. But as a kid, it's so yucky, right? So it would be this opposition of I couldn't complain, couldn't say, hey, that really stunk, do something better. That was not okay. But it was this compensation of wanting to give and make it okay, and kind of this overflow of relief. Oh, you're finally here. So I'm going to, and it has definitely, I just saw how powerful that when we overgive to avoid vulnerability, what a block that is to receiving basic needs of respect, of being treated well.
And was there an issue of safety there?
Definitely. I definitely didn't feel safe.
Wow.
But the receiving, the lens of vulnerability, of just knowing like it's not safe to be vulnerable, to admit that I was vulnerable. So I would be just happy. Just
because
like,
you were safe being happy.
Like, okay, we're moving on. Soldier on.
Yeah, she came.
She
came. Got home.
Right. Let's go home now. Right.
I don't have this need to be vulnerable anymore, right? So, but what I think I'm hearing is that you just shut down that need. Yeah. To be able to say, I did not feel safe waiting all this time until you came. Right. Gotcha. Yeah.
And as you grow up, I just figured out a way to get to and from school on my own. To not need a ride.
Gotcha.
To not be dependent on anyone. Which is a good thing, right? You're independent and but I never really got the how to speak around needing to be met, or
right, or recognizing your needs.
Yep.
Right. Okay. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's moving. I can feel it moving in the heart.
Moving already. Good.
Moving.
Good.
I hope it's moving for everyone.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Because when it comes to it's the universalness of that. It clothes itself in our unique experiences, but it always hurts to shut down the basic needs.
Right. And so as a, you know, in the context of tapping into wealth and trying to earn money and receiving money, these blocks for just saying, I was scared. You didn't show up when I needed you to. I was scared. And not having that need can block us now from receiving, right? Because it's like a universal block, it seems like. You know, so, wow. What do I really want? What do I really need? To me, it's scary to even look at that. You know, what is it that I need really inside? What does my little girl needing? What is she wanting? And to open this up, find the balance in it, clear away. So it's just so important to see this, right? It's important to see it and recognize, acknowledge, and then we're gonna work on breaking free. Okay, so I want to bring us into some tapping, and we're going to tap on the vow to not depend on anyone, and it is a script I'm going to go through, and we can mute everybody. And so I'm going to say general words that apply to a lot of people. Your words may be very specific, they may be different. And so as you're muted, feel free to substitute your words, your thoughts, your feelings, your needs in there. And yeah, we'll do this round and then we'll talk a little bit and then there'll be a positive round. So you can just start tapping through the points, whatever points you use. And so think about this scenario that you pictured earlier, and here we go. There I am. I see it all now. I made a vow to be strong. I decided not to ask, to not even feel how much energy I had, how much desire I had, how much I wanted love, how much I needed to feel safe, to be treasured, and to be seen. I needed you to see me. And I wanted that at some point. But I had to shut it down. It wasn't safe. It was dangerous. There was pain. There was criticism. So I learned to not feel my deepest needs or my real wants. I actually refused, and instead I did something else. I used my brains. I used my strength. I used my loving nature. And I gave, and I gave, and I did, and I did. And there was no receiving coming my way. So I learned not to ask. The reality was that asking brings more pain. Asking brings danger. Asking brings disappointment. All the sadness about this picture, all the anger about this picture. I just wanted to be seen. I just wanted to be loved. And they never gave me that. They couldn't give it to me the way that I wanted it, or the way I needed it. And so I learned not to ask. And I haven't been a good receiver since then. Now I want you to take a really deep breath. And I just want you to look at that picture again. This round may have been hard, and it may have triggered a lot of emotions or sadness. And if it did, I want you to come back to this and keep tapping, okay? It's incredibly important to clear these emotions and these beliefs from this vow, because it determines whether or not you'll be able to be a great receiver, a good receiver. Will I be able to receive the love and the nurturing and the admiration, the money that I need, that I want? So once you've tapped this down, again, I'm just going to go through some questions that you can just think about. We've tapped a little bit, but come back to this if you need to, and then go through these questions again. So recognizing yourself there as a young child, what were your deepest needs back then? What did you really want? Okay. And what has it cost you to shut down your early desires? At the time, it gave you something you needed, but what does it cost you in the long run? So while it was probably a coping mechanism that seemed necessary for survival to protect you, right? Or help you to achieve on your own, what has it cost you in your spirit, in your dreams, in your long-term desires, in knowing yourself? What has it cost you? And how has your ability to earn more money been affected by having to shut down your deepest needs and wants? Those desires and this openness to receive. Okay. And what if you could let this all go and ask the universe, ask God, ask people for what you really want? To just maybe feel selfish and maybe have the pleasure of having these things. What if that's possible? Would you really love to experience the pleasure of having enough money or more money than you need? Of the sensory pleasures of the joys in life? More ease of life, right? So once we clear out these old vows to take care of everything ourselves, these things can then flow as we open up to receiving. And so to add a little more fuel to this, we're going to go into the positive round of tapping, okay? Just to start help opening up those channels. And like I said, this may be something that I know I need to go back and do more tapping on, but if you do, rewind and redo, because this is really important to clear. So this is where we're going to start learning how to ask, how to learn how to ask and how to receive, right? We need more things. We need more in our lives, more blessings in our lives, more people in our lives, more freedom. So let's see. So use your own thoughts and feelings again. The story, the words that were spoken maybe to you, and say to yourself, my income is not enough. Okay, and we're going to tap through this next round. So we'll start tapping. Take a deep breath. Even though I made this vow that made a lot of sense at the time, this vow was to never ask and never be vulnerable. This vow was maybe to never be needy. And I never even feel my deepest needs. I am just going to honor this now. And I see the conflict that it's causing. That a really big thing missing from my life is receiving. More pleasure, more joy, more money. I do want all these things that money can provide for me. And even though I took this vow, and I would never have imagined that it's connected to money, I totally honor all the ways it's blocked me from receiving. Receiving the manifestation of the reward. Receiving the pleasure and the nurturing that money can represent as an energy. And that money can physically purchase. So I'm letting go of this old vow. And I'm open to taking some baby steps. Baby steps of asking and receiving. But I made this vow to never be vulnerable. Not really sure I can let that go. I may never complain about my needs and feelings. And I can be proud of that. I'm not sure if I can let that go. But I'm going to be open to taking a baby step. A baby step toward asking. And opening up to receive all the joys and the pleasures. All the rewards I say I want. I actually love receiving. I love earning money. And I love watching it pile up. And it's pleasurable to spend. Maybe I can spend some on me without the guilt. So I'm open to taking a big step by honoring my power. The power that goes beyond vulnerability. The power that to ask for and receive everything I'm wanting to manifest. I'm actually really powerful. Do I still need to worry about being vulnerable? I'll always be an achiever. But what if I could receive and enjoy the reward? I am open to healing this now. And I'm open to allowing a whole new level of receiving in my life. Take a really deep breath and just see how it feels to say these more positive words. It can really take some time for our subconscious to process this. So I'm going to ask you to give yourself grace, give yourself time to allow yourself to go back and tap on the negative and the positive. To give yourself the word I want, but the ability to ask some of these hard questions that I listed earlier, and to really look at the answers, and just cultivate this consciousness around receiving and why I've blocked myself from receiving. Yeah, and so my homework for you would be to have a consciousness around things that you say, like during the day, during the week. What are things that you hear yourself saying? Do you say, I'll take care of it myself? Do you say, oh, I can do it? That's okay. I'm strong. I can do it. I don't need much. So I want you to just have this consciousness around if you say these things. What do you say them about? Who do you say them to? Maybe you don't say them to other people, or maybe you just say it to yourself. But do you say it? Because those things are closing ourselves off from receiving. And so I'm just encouraging you to be conscious of it and to taking the baby steps, right? This is a baby step one. Opening up to one small thing at a time. I don't have to do this all today. Awesome. How is that, ladies? Anything come up? Anything anybody wants to share?
I can just share a little bit. I had, during the one round of tapping, I wrote down, I don't feel like I belonged anywhere. I was always an outsider. And even though, because I isolated myself because my needs either were made fun of or criticized or not met. And so I met my own, but I always felt like I pulled back. So I always felt like an outsider. And it was like this holy cow, eye-opening thing that my whole life I felt, even though I look like I'm a part of everything, I've not felt connected and like I belonged. I grew up, I changed schools in fourth grade, and then so fourth grade through eighth grade was in a school, and I had parents as an adult tell me that they thought I was like one of the popular ones. I never felt like I belonged. And I came from a little Catholic school and went to a huge high school, so I felt like I never fit in there either. But I got like 3 senior awards, like the kangaroo court thing. I got like 3 awards in that. So obviously I was known, but I never felt like I belonged anywhere.
Right.
And so that was huge, like, whoa, for
Awesome.
me.
Yay.
And, yeah, and it was like, I've started asking to have my needs met. I'll have conversations with my kids and say, I need this from you. And I've done that with my husband. So I've definitely made steps of making it known, but the feeling part of it, is a big deal. So thank you.
Welcome. That is a big deal. Yes, it's absolutely, because that's what's inside you. That's what's, keeping you, holding you back. Yeah. Wow.
It's such a beautiful thing that you brought up. I really do think there's a distinction that we can begin to register with this inner work between fitting in and belonging. There are examples of fitting in, you get the rewards, but a feeling of belonging is something so different. It's beautiful, and I just honor you so much for being here, Vicki. You belong here.
Thank you.
And isn't that something we receive? Right? I receive the ability to belong in this group. Right? To me, that's something that I haven't received. For whatever feeling I had going on inside, I'm not as smart as them, as pretty as them, or whatever. I had these things, but if I could receive, if they're being honest, they're an honest group of people and they want me, I have to receive that to feel like I fit in. Right? It's kind of my aha this morning. It's like, real, even just that, like when you said that, it's like, just that ability to fit in and feel like I belong. Yeah.
My receiving was the possibility. That lens that you're talking about shuts down certain possibilities. And what I received was the possibility that it could be neutral to ask for my needs. It could be simple. It could be beneficial. Like just the possibility, because that lens really was like, it's gonna be disappointing. It's gonna trigger other people's shame, and it's gonna be painful to even ask. So just the possibility that it could be neutral to ask for my needs, and then move it up the scale to it actually could be beneficial in the world.
Right. And that's true that all of those possibilities exist, right?
But to open up the possibility of it being something other that's disappointing, shameful, and painful.
And I think knowing that you're not that child anymore, you're not in that circumstance, and you have developed tools as an adult, and accepting that part of you, that I can ask for my need. It may end in disappointment. It may be neutral. It may be wonderful. But whatever it is, I have support because I'm receiving. I have tools. And so for me, it kind of opens up that part too. I have all of you.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
And we have the
awesome.
tapping, and we have the Tapping into Wealth Coaches program has really expanded, because I've been a do-it-yourselfer like you, Kay, in my self-development. I'll receive the big guru message, like the big program where I'm one of the masses, but I'm still doing it myself. I'm still consuming the material mostly on my own. But it's in the Tapping into Wealth that I have more and more made very real personal connections building this bridge between totally isolated or one of the masses to my tribe, my specific clients, my friends. And it's taking on a whole other level of personal power. And it is in that vulnerability. It works. It works.
Yeah, definitely. Bravo. Bravo.
Anything for you, Kay, that you want to share?
Yeah, with this receiving and belonging, one of the things that I noticed is I still can't go there with my family. So my family is here. My folks are alive. They're, 2 blocks over. I'm there twice a day, blah, blah, blah. All the energy of that 4, 5, and 12-year-old is still there. And so I've done the best that I can do, and that's how it is. What I've chosen to do is take this working on myself and receiving out into my community because I trust you. And in that trust, here's what happened yesterday. I did fall off my bike, and there were some cars there, and I was off to the side. And one of the fellows jumped out of his car and came over and was really concerned. And in the past, I would just cover my head and try to get out of there and go on. And he said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yes, I'm just terribly embarrassed." And so we were able to dialogue, and he handed me his hand to come up, and I would have never taken that. And so I took his hand, and I felt as though I belonged in my community. I'm in a little community. And here was this young fella. He was genuinely concerned, and I wasn't blowing him off. I connected with him. "Thank you for your hand. I'm fine. I'm embarrassed." And he said, "I've done this too." And we both went on. And so that's pretty huge for me.
That's awesome. That is huge. I totally see that. It's, I can hear it. I can feel it. The energy's there, Kay. It's, there's a shift. I didn't know you before, but I can feel the shift.
Celebrate.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Wow. Good. Vicky's like, "I'm going to keep dancing."
Yeah,
I love it.
We can't underestimate the power of it's like the roots of our inner world. If you think of a tree, our thoughts, our feelings, those lenses, those programs, they inform our action, the way we experience. They really do inform how we conduct ourselves on a day-to-day, moment-to-moment, conversation by conversation. And it's okay that we have those defenses. They are there for a reason. They keep us safe. They keep us alive. So yes, it's okay that in our parent relationship, in our current life, we still have these mechanisms, but isn't it a joy to see that other places, other conversations can be shifted and moved, and we can more and more mature, responsible, adult discernment say, here is a safe place to receive. I don't need to translate my parent relationship into my marriage anymore.
Yep.
And that's where it really becomes a manifestation heaven. And we can be more human and more whole. It's been really wonderful working with you guys. I think this is an amazing call. For people who may be watching, I just want to celebrate taking the time. So I just feel like a nice deep breath is in order. give the body that substance, come down into the body to integrate some of the work that's been done, integrate some of that movement and power. And I know that we're here together in real time and we love each other, but I definitely have a sense of a containership of a greater community. The reason why we record this, the reason why we put ourselves out there as examples and want to support other people in doing similar work is because of the difference it really, really has to make for people in our personal lives, our clients, our friends. So I just really honor the here and now and the extended value that this is for the world.
It is.
Yeah, we're going to keep coming back every Friday. We're going to keep working with the Mastermind Principle. For this recorded call, the principle is in our container. The principles of Mastermind, of being more than the sum of our parts, is here with us. We primarily focus in the Mastermind Principle on the processes, and it's just one way to approach a mastermind. If people are unfamiliar with Mastermind, I think it's the simplest way to describe it is high tide raises all ships. We are more than the sum of our parts, and that the group harmony supports growth beyond what we can do on our own. So that's really where this call accesses, plugs into the Mastermind Principle. And then the processes give us such a structure and a support to deep dive personally, knowing that there are others doing the same. So next week, we're going to be starting to move into slightly different content. We've worked all the way through all of the tapping into wealth processes. There are probably a couple more things that we can pull out of Margaret's book. This particular receiving process is in her book. It's not part of the Tapping into Wealth Coaches program per se, but it is a theme. And Margaret says, if you get nothing out of tapping into wealth, get the ability to receive. This is so important, and it affects so many areas of our lives that it's something that we can definitely return to. So stay tuned for our upcoming processes. Come back, pass it around to your friends, and we'll be seeing everybody again soon. Any last words, insights, takeaways, accountabilities, any farewells or best wishes?
Thank you all for being here. It's just my pleasure to, hopefully provide a safe container to process. And yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Much love.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Bye for now.
Thank you.